this week we're going to be talking about judging others. Back in 2009, you may remember, you probably have seen this video. It went viral on the internet. Britain has talent. And a 43-year-old lady named Susan Boyle walked on stage, and the judges sat there and kind of snickered under their breath. All of the audience looked and kind of snickered under their breath as this 43-year-old wannabe singer stood on the stage. Let's watch this video and get an idea of what it means to judge others before you get to know them.
Hi, what's your name, darling?
My name is Susan Boyle.
Okay, Susan, where are you from?
I am from Blackburn near Bathgate, West Lothian.
It's a big town.
It's a sort of collection of... It's a collection of villages. I had to think there.
And how old are you, Susan?
I am 47. And that's just one side of me.
Okay, what's the dream?
I'm trying to be a professional singer.
And why hasn't it worked out so far, Susan?
I've never been given the chance before, but here's hoping it'll change.
Okay, and who would you like to be as successful as?
Elaine Page.
Elaine Page.
Like
what are you going to sing tonight?
I'm going to sing I Dreamed a Dream from the Miserables.
Okay.
Big song.
Yeah? Yes.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by. When focus rise, life will be.
You didn't expect that, did you? Did you? No.
I dreamed that love would never die. I dreamed that God would be forgiving. I was young and unafraid. When dreams are made and used and wasted, there was no ransom to be paid, no song unsung, no wine untasted. But the tigers come with their voices soft as thunder. As they tear your hopes apart, as they turn your dreams to still I dream you come to me. I dream we live our lives together. But there are dreams which cannot be, and there are storms we cannot weather. I had a dream like life would be, so different from this hell I'm living, so different now from what it seems. Now life has killed the dream I dreamed.
Hello.
Hey, come back here.
All right. Thank you very much, Susan. Piers.
Without a doubt, that was the biggest surprise I have had in 3 years on this show. When you stood there with that cheeky grin and said, I want to be like Elaine Page, everyone was laughing at you. No one is laughing now. That was Stunning. An incredible performance. Amazing. I'm reeling from shock. How about you two? But
I am
Can't
so
believe it.
thrilled because I know that everybody was against you. I honestly think that we were all being very cynical, and I think that's the biggest wake-up call ever. And I just want to say that it was a complete privilege listening to that. It was brilliant.
Susan, I knew the minute you walked out on that stage that we were going to hear something extraordinary, and I was right.
Quite a lot of touch.
Susan, you are a little tiger, aren't you?
Oh, I don't know about that.
You
I
are.
don't know about that.
Okay, moment of truth. Here's yes or no.
the biggest yes I have ever given anybody.
Amanda?
Yes, definitely. Brilliant.
Susan Boyle, you can go back to the village with your head held high. It's 3 yeses.
I don't know about you, but to me that's one of the most awesome videos that I've ever seen. It wakes us up and reminds us of the fallacy of judging others. Judging others is something that we should leave up to God. And judging others is something that is a priceless gift that should we choose not to do it. It's a priceless gift. Last week I caught an episode of Extreme Log Homes on television. I like to watch these type of shows. And they had these little cheap log mansions on there. The first one was about $3.5 million. The next one was about $6 million. And the last one was just a paltry little $7 million log home. And these owners had gone to great lengths to make these log homes fantastic, to make them unique, to make them some of the most beautiful things that you could ever see. And in their mind, at least, these log homes were priceless. Something's usually considered priceless when it's special, unique, and rare. And because the price is of absolutely no consideration to those who seek it and obtain it. Therefore, real Christian love is a priceless commodity. It's priceless because it's special. It's priceless because it's unique, especially to Christians. And it is priceless because it is extremely rare in our world today. The truth is that there are few people who obtain this priceless gift of Christian love because there are few who are willing to pay the price to obtain it. One of the easiest areas of failure in the Christian life is that Christians can fall prey to that judgmental and critical attitude. Because it seems so natural to find fault with other people while we ignore our own shortcomings. Jesus addressed this tendency when he gave the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 7, 1 through 12. And you can follow with me in your copy of God's Word, or you can read it on the screen. It says, "Do not judge so that you will not be judged. For in the way that you judge, you will be judged, and by your standard of measure, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, and behold, the log is in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Do not give what is holy to dogs, nor throw your pearls before swines, for they will trample them under feet and turn and tear you to pieces. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. Or what man is there among you, who, when his son asks for a loaf, will he give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will he not give him a snake? He will not give him a snake, will he? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give what is good to those who ask him? In everything, therefore, treat people the same way you want them to treat you. For this is the law and the prophets. This morning I want to look at the instructions that Jesus gave us in dealing with our own critical spirit. And the first step that he gave us, or the first instruction he gave us, is that we must not condone the critical spirit. Jesus said very simply, do not judge so that you will not be judged. These words of Jesus are not a quaint request, but an imperative command. When you read it in the Greek, it is a command that Jesus is giving here. The words do not judge literally means stop judging. We're guilty of it. We know we all are. But Jesus says simply stop judging other people. The Greek word krino means to judge, to decide between two things, to reach a decision. Jesus said we're not to judge other people. Why? It seems so natural to judge and criticize other people. Why shouldn't we do it? Well, there are several reasons why we should not judge other people. First of all, we're not capable of being a judge. We don't have all the facts so that we can fairly make a decision about other people. We often judge people without knowing everything that's going on and everything that's involved in the situation. Look at this very short video. It's an AmeriQuest commercial about a man who's preparing dinner for his wife.
Hey, kid. You got to go down. Come on.
You get the point? We make judgments before we have all the information. And so we're not capable of being a judge. In the New Testament, Jesus is the only one who ever called anybody a hypocrite. You know why that's true? Because Jesus is the only one that has all the information he needs to have about me and you. I might see a person doing this and I might see a person doing that, and I might make a judgment about that person, but I don't know what's going on in that person's life. I don't know why they may be doing this or why they may be doing that. I don't have all the information, so I'm making a judgment based on a very limited amount of information. Second, the word judgment, krima, means to prejudge. To prejudge someone. And here's another in the last short video we're going to show this morning. And this comes from the movie Shrek. And Shrek is this ogre. And you know, he just has been looked down on everybody all of his life. And so let's just see what he has to say.
You know what I think? I think this whole wall thing is just a way to keep somebody out.
No. Do you think?
Are you hiding something?
Never mind, donkey.
Oh, this is another one of those onion things, isn't it?
No, this is one of those drop it and leave it alone things.
Well, why don't you want to talk about it?
Why do you want to talk about it?
Well, why are you blocking?
I'm not blocking.
Oh, yes, you are.
Donkey, I'm warning you.
Who are you trying to keep out? Just tell me that, Shrek. Who?
Everyone, okay?
Oh, now we're getting somewhere.
Oh, for the love of Pete.
Hey, what's your problem, Shrek? What you got against the whole world anyway, huh?
Look, I'm not the one with the problem, okay? It's the world that seems to have a problem with me. People take one look at me and go, ah, help, run! A big, stupid, ugly ogre. They judge me before they even know me.
They judge me before they ever even know me. Have you ever felt people doing that to you? Judging you before they ever really even know you? So Jesus said we're not to prejudge people before we have all the facts. And also, another reason that we shouldn't be judging other people is because when we judge other people, we're passing judgment on ourselves. In verse 2 of our text, it says, for in the way you judge, you will be judged, and by your standard of measure, it will be measured to you. Do you know that God holds you to the exact same standards to which you hold other people? If you're judging other people, if you're condemning them for these actions, then you better watch out, because you're going to be held to the very same standards by which you are judging everybody else. There are no double standards with God. God doesn't judge this person for doing this and not judge you when you do the exact same thing. He's going to judge you according to the standard by which you judge other people. For the judgments of men are fallible and subject to be wrong. Can you imagine that? I judge something and it's wrong? Back in 1863, the Battle of Gettysburg was fought almost exactly 160 years ago on July the 1st through the 3rd. 4 months later, President Lincoln took a train to Gettysburg where it was dedicated as a national memorial park and a cemetery for those who had died there. You remember that great speech. You probably had to memorize it and quote it in school. I can still remember the first parts of it. 77 years ago there, our forefathers brought into this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal, and I can't go any further than that. But he gave a 2-minute speech. And boy, did the newspaper reporters rip him to shreds over that speech. They said it was the worst speech that had ever been given. The senator from from Pennsylvania had just stood up and gave a 2-hour speech just prior to Lincoln getting up and giving his 2-minute speech. Guess what? Most people don't even know who that senator was. They certainly don't remember his 2-hour speech, but it is almost universally accepted that 2-minute Gettysburg address is probably one of the finest presidential addresses that has ever been given in the United States of America. We are fallible. That means we make mistakes in judging others. And fifth, a critical Christian is not a loving Christian. This is especially true when our own sins, that log Jesus was talking about, are greater than those of the other people that we're criticizing. They may have a little tiny speck in their life, but we've got a big old log in our eye, and we certainly cannot see to take the speck out of their eye because we've got this big old sin in our life. You see, carping criticism is a spiritual sin. And when you criticize other people, you're criticizing those whom God has made and those for whom Jesus has died for. And it is a sin that He does not like. He does not love it at all. You see, a fleshly sin destroys the body, while a spiritual sin destroys our spirit. And while God hates all sin, He looks with the most disfavor on those sins of the spirit, such as pride and prejudice and judgmental criticism. Jesus called the self-righteous people like the Pharisees hypocrites because they were outwardly clean. I mean, they prayed on the street corners, they gave a tenth of all the herbs that they had in their pantry, and they would dedicate those to the Lord. But inside, He said that they were just as filthy as a tomb with dead men's bones in it. He did not use that description of those who were guilty of the scarlet sins of society. Why? Because those people who were guilty of adultery and other things like that, they knew they were sinners. But the prideful Pharisee didn't know he was a sinner. He considered himself better than others. The attitude that we should have as Christians is to clean up our own life, and then in humility and in kindness, we can render help and aid and not criticism to other people. But how are we going to achieve this? After all, Jesus is asking a lot from us not to criticize other people. How in the world are we going to achieve it? Well, secondly, we must pray in order to conquer the critical spirit. A lot of people look at this little admonition on prayer as being separate. But when you read the Sermon on the Mount, it is all a part of the immediate context. And you cannot separate what Jesus was saying about criticizing or judging other people and leave out this part He's saying about prayer. Specifically, it has to do with praying to overcome the critical spirit. Let's read it. Do not give what is holy to dogs, Do not throw your pearls before swine, or they will trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds. To him who knocks it will be opened. Or what man is there among you, when his son asks for a loaf, will he give him a stone? If he asks for fish, he will not give him a snake, will he? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give what is good to those who ask Him? This promise deals generally with prayer, but specifically the promise is for us to gain victory over our critical spirit. It is to gain victory over our tendency toward moral and spiritual discrimination or judgmental spirit. We cannot hope to achieve the standard that Jesus sets for us of not judging other people, except we inundate ourselves with prayer and fortify ourselves with the Spirit of God. If you read in the book of Galatians or Ephesians chapter 6, about putting on the spiritual armor, beginning in verse 10 and going on through about verse 18. You put on the spiritual armor, and this is something you have to do every day before you go out into the world. And so every day when you get up, the first thing you need to do is pray, God, help me to let you be in control of me today. Help me not to allow that critical spirit to come into my life and look at others in that condescending sort of way, to look down on others and think I'm better than them. And you fortify yourself before you ever go out into the world, and then you allow God to flow through you through the power of the Holy Spirit and help you to overcome that tendency toward judgment or criticism. We're to ask for it. And then as God in His grace gives it to us, we're to seek it. And then we're not to stop until we achieve it. Every time you see these verbs in here, are actually participles, it says ask, means keep on asking and it will be given to you. Seek, and that word means to keep on seeking and you will find it. And knock, and keep on knocking and it will be open to you. You see, it's not a one-time thing. It's a constant thing. Because if we stop praying about it, guess what? We're going to immediately revert back to that old critical, condemning person that we used to be. Ask, seek, and knock. All are imperatives. These are commands that Jesus has given us. And so we're not to stop. We're to keep on asking, keep on seeking, and keep on knocking so that we might overcome that critical attitude and that critical spirit. So Jesus tells us that if we're persistent in prayer, we will be successful in overcoming that critical spirit toward other people. And finally, we must be proactive to control our critical spirit. Look at verse 12. In everything, therefore, treat people the same way you want them to treat you, for this is the law and the prophets. These words can change your life as a Christian from what you are into what Christ wants you to be. Again, this, of course, we know it as the golden rule. In everything, therefore, treat people the same way you want them to treat you, for this is the law and the prophets. Now, some people say, well, this teaching's not unique to Jesus. For example, they will quote Hillel the Hebrew, who said, do not do to your neighbor what is hateful to you. Or they'll quote Socrates the Greek, who said, what stirs your anger when done to you by others, do not do to others. Or Confucius the Chinese said it this way, what you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others. The difference is this, the difference between what Jesus said and what they said. Theirs is negative and passive. Do not do to others what you don't want done to you. While Jesus is positive, do unto others what you would have others to do to you. You see the proactive stance that Jesus is giving? Don't just not do to others, but do to others what you would have others to do to you. Their rule would be called a silver rule. But Jesus' rule is the golden rule. The reason our souls are shriveled, the reason the Christian witness is blunted and the fellowship among Christians is destroyed, is because we can't even measure up to the silver rule, much less the golden rule. When we allow our critical spirit to control us, we become stumbling blocks to other people. And instead of becoming that pathway to God, we become a gate that prevents them from reaching God. Yet we can live by the golden rule, and we can overcome our critical spirit by becoming proactive and positive in our actions toward other people. The question is this: are you willing to pay the price of Christian love? It's high, and it calls for persistent prayer and positive action on our part, but the rewards are worth it all. And I would say that it's truly priceless. A little girl was upset because her brother had gone out in the backyard and set a trap to catch birds. And he had put seed all around the trap. And the little girl was upset about it because she didn't want his trap to catch birds in it. So she prayed that night, "Oh, Jesus, don't let his trap catch any birds." To ensure that didn't happen, she got up in the middle of the night, went outside, and destroyed his trap. Jesus said we need to pray to overcome the critical spirit. But he also said we need to be proactive in overcoming our tendency to be critical. We need to move forward in life without condemning and judging other people. There's only one who's really qualified to judge others. And guess what? You and I are not him. His name is Jesus. Let's leave the judging to him. Let's love. Let's tell the truth to others. Let's be that bright witness to the world that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, and that nobody comes to the Father except through him. Are you willing to pay that price? I believe you are, or you wouldn't be here worshiping the King of Glory this morning.